to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday, and today's Power Talk Friday is sponsored by Duque Renders. If you haven't had the pleasure of getting to know about Duque Renders, they are a 3D rendering studio based in Tulum, Mexico, and they specialize in interior design and architectural photorealistic imaging. I've had Fernando Duque, the CEO of Duque Renders, on the show several times, and we will link those episodes in the show notes because you don't want to miss them. Now, today, along with Fernando, we are joined with two interior designers, Kelly O'Neill, founder of Kelly O'Neill Design, and Camia Brown, founder of Camia Brown Interiors, who, as soon as they each started using Duque Renders in their projects, never looked back and now use them for all of their projects. Now, this particular episode is fun for me and for all of us because the four of us did this panel last October at High Point Market. Well, let me make a correction there. Fernando couldn't join us because his wife Mina was having a baby, but we had Aju with us and these two lovely ladies, and we talked about the power of using 3D renderings, and it was a valuable discussion that you will now have the benefit of hearing in this episode. I love hearing the actual evidential proof of why using Duque Renders is good for you in business, right? Not only because Fernando is a friend of mine, but because they also do really deliver high quality rendering. Everyone who has used Duque Renders boasts about their process, about their commitment to quality, and about their level of communication. Let's see what these lovely ladies have to say about their interaction with Duque Renders. Hey, you guys. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, everyone. So nice to be here again.
Hi, LuAnn. How's it going? It's so great to be here. This is Camia.
Hi, LuAnn. This is Kelly. So good to see you and be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited. We just decided that we're a quartet and we're back together. We're back in the saddle again. So very excited, right? We're going to talk about Duque Renders today. I have really been enjoying these conversations, both in real life at Las Vegas Market and at High Point Market and on the podcast, because with each time we keep uncovering the nuances of how you real life living, breathing interior designers, are really getting nice benefits to your business, to your process, to the projects that you're closing, the opportunities that you're creating for yourself with the help of having Duque Renders as one of the tools in your tool belt. So today we're going to talk about why you like it, and then I'm going to ask you about working with Duque and what that's like. All right, so Camia, start us off. What is the thing about having, I guess first tell me, one question is, do you do renderings for all projects, or do you decide certain projects get them and others don't? And if so, based on what criteria?
Yeah, so I would say majority of our projects, we definitely do renderings. Sometimes there may be something that the client's like, I don't need to see this visually, and I just totally get it. But 99% of the time, I would say we're absolutely doing a rendering, and we are making sure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted.
Okay. And Kelly, how are you? Do you do it for all, or just you figure out which ones you want to or not?
I used to figure out which ones I would do it for. Now I do it for all projects. It's a non-starter. We have to have them on all projects now.
Okay. So now, since both of you, that's interesting because I didn't know that before we went on air. And with that being the case, that, Camia, you're 99%, Kelly, you're like, it's all. So it's essentially you both have the same feeling on it, right? Why is that? So, Camia, what is happening from having the rendering versus not? Why is that so important to you?
Well, I would say for me, there's so many different competing things, especially when you're working with first-time home buyers or it's their first time working with an interior designer. I'm also still fairly new to working for myself full time in this capacity. And so also building that trust. So there's so many different things for me that make working with Duque Render so important. And so, first of all, it's just like that peace of mind, right? And the clarity of the design intent and sharing with the client exactly what we're doing is exactly what you're going to see. And so for them to have that wow factor to see it, but also again, like that peace of mind is so important to me. So, I love to just be able to communicate exactly what we're thinking and then being able to show it to them for them to understand it. So yeah, I can't stress how important that is.
Well, it's a hard industry, right? And it's like you guys, you have it in your mind's eye. Like I've said the story before when Kim at Window Works here was helping me do the primary bath when we bought a townhouse a dozen years ago or whatever. And I'm in the tile store with her and she's like, oh, this for the wall, this for the floor, this for the shower floor. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, this looks like a hot mess. Like these go together. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, but I'm trusting. You see, I know her and I trust her, but like if I'm first new to design as a client and I'm kind of new to you as my designer and I'm maybe nervous about what the investment is, whether it is a primary bath or it's a, bookcase or whatever the heck it is you're designing, like that I get that, right? You're saying it's peace of mind for both of you, right, Camia?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. And Kelly, how about you? What's the nudge for you on why it's a non-negotiable that you're going to include it?
I had an incident in the past that I think we discussed talking about a little bit where I had a job that was a great job. I had all the trust in the world with the client. I had done 2 phases on the project and I didn't feel the need to do renderings because the trust was there. And during phase 2 of the project, the builder threw me under a bus and the client would not let me in for photographs. So I turned to Duke's to get renderings done so that I can have that for my portfolio to represent the work that I had done on that project. And it was one of the best projects I've ever done. So I needed some kind of resource to get that. And that was just one project where I said, oh, I don't need any renderings here. And of course I did.
Oh, okay. Okay. So in that process, the falling out had nothing to do with like what Camia is referring to, like somebody getting something and then saying, oh, those words that you said did not make that picture in my mind. It had nothing to do with that. It just was a falling out and with you and the builder, the contractor.
That's correct.
And there was no coming back from it. And so therefore you couldn't get the photos.
That's correct. Yes. The client wouldn't let me in because the builder blamed me for something that he refused to do. And it was the most important element for the client.
Oh my God. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like that just like gets my blood boiling. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's nuts. So, but that's your workaround, right? Because you had done the design and now you could go over to Duque and do the rendering and now it can live on your portfolio. And if it had been like, all right, well, that was an okay project, but this was like a really important project to you, you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. It was some of my best work. And I was so proud of the work we did. And to lose that opportunity to have photographs of it was heartbreaking for me.
Okay. Okay. So going forward, you're just like, you all get renders because I don't know what kind of crazy pants and stuff is going to happen at the end of this.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I guess if you're going to render it anyway for that outcome, they may as well get the benefit of the rendering through the process, right? Is the point, right?
Sure. They get the benefit and the builders get the benefit because now they see the renders to know exactly what's in my brain. So we have no argument at the end of the project.
Oh, okay. So that's a nuance there. So what you're saying is in this particular case, if you had the rendering, then it couldn't have been a he said, she said sort of a thing.
100%. Yes.
Oh, okay. 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 That's interesting. That's interesting. And then I think you mentioned to me, might have been at High Point, you mentioned it to me, and it's coming back to me now. You take each of the renders for each of the rooms and you stick them in construction in the space.
I do.
So we don't have to say which way is up for herringbone tile. This is up, folks, right?
Exactly. With every elevation, the elevation goes on top, and right underneath it is my render so that they can see this is the whole thing. You've got the shop drawings, the elevations, and now you have a visual representation of exactly what it's going to look like.
Interesting. So, Camia, you and Kelly have been friends for quite a few months now, and you're aware of some of these stories that she's telling us here on the show for the first time. Have you also now started, when you have renovation projects and things like that, put the pictures in the projects the way Kelly is doing?
I've put them in the package. I have a package that I present to the contractor at the beginning of the project. And so I haven't put them on the wall, but I am definitely going to start doing that now. I think that's a great idea.
Right. And Fernando, you have something to add to all. I know we're just having this conversation without you there. Sorry.
No,
but
no.
We had to get all our girl talk out.
Oh yeah, no. It's all about you, ladies. It's all about you, ladies. No, adding to that, we have clients that actually just print them gigantically and put them on the job site. So there's no mistake. There's no, I don't know how it's going to look. It's going to look like this. So there's no, and I like that's kind of like insurance, right? You're buying insurance for your project in case something goes wrong. Well, it shouldn't be because the rendering is there and it's gigantic. So everyone is on the same page. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, look, of course you're on the right track, Camia, having it in the package, right? But this is like that insurance moment. It's like, and by the way, even if the packet is not here, there it is, right? And that's comforting. I think it's comforting too for the homeowner too, or the property owner, whatever type of project it is, commercial or residential, that oh yeah, that's the thing I paid for. That's what it's supposed to look like. And I can walk in and see it in process happening that way, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So, Camia, you have also told me that having the renderings is facilitating the actual process of, the proposal process or the closing of the project process. Talk to us a little bit about how it also impacts that for your business.
Well, I would say specifically when it comes to clarifying the details, it's so important to be able to communicate what you're thinking to the client, but then also when they're not sure because they're going back and forth in their heads between 2 or 3 different ideas, whether they spoke to their aunt or to their best friend or someone else gave their input and now they're like, Camia, we want to do this. And I'm like, seriously? So sometimes it's let's get these other voices out of your head. And then other moments it's, okay, these are the 3 ideas that you have. Let's nail it down. So we will present this rendering and then Duque will change it and say, okay, we want to see this in blue and red and purple because I am a color forward girl. So then in my designs, you're going to get color, right? So then he'll show it in these different iterations. And then the client can say, oh, actually, no, I don't like this idea. Or yeah, I do like that. Or you were right, Camia. It's always you were right, Camia. Let's go with this one. I agree with you. So it definitely helps us to, make those decisions. We make them quickly. We can move on. And then again, peace of mind.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, when you think about it, would you go into let's take an important event, your kid's getting married or something, right? Or your own wedding or something. Would you go into a high-end specialty dressmaker and be like, just put them on hangers for me. And then I'll just pick the one and it'll be like that's $1,000 and we won't do it without trying them on, but we'll do $100,000 rooms or renovations and be like, yeah, whatever you said in words, I guess I'll get it in pictures, right? It's a little crazy,
Yeah. When you put it like that, that definitely does. That sounds so crazy.
Right? I mean, it's just, and the thing is,
true.
I get it's the technology has come forward. The quality of Duque rendering is not your garden variety quality. So, but it's just like anything. It's I always make a fun of us and our business when we started in the 80s. I mean, there was no fax machine. There was no telephone. There was no cell phone, no cell phone. There was no computer. I can remember I used to go on my window treatment appointments and I used to have this side bag that had 20 magazines, like pictures of window treatments in it, because it was like, do you want a balloon shade? What's a balloon shade? Well, let me find it in here. The balloons all have a green tab on it. Like, you know what I mean? And you had to show people. And then it would be like, well, I don't want it with that kind of heading. And so I would have to take like a picture of it with a regular camera, send that to be developed, wait for that to come back, and then mail it to my workroom and say, here's the unusual elevation we have here. Can I do a balloon shade on this thing? I mean, it was weeks. It was like, I'll call you sometime in 6 months and let you know. And the thing is, like, we would never do that now, right? And it's kind of like, that's what I'm thinking about rendering. The more I have these conversations with you designers who are using Duque renders, it's like, okay, maybe we're on the verge of this feeling like a luxury for your projects, but it's sort of feeling like if I said, never mind, I don't want a smartphone, I don't want to take the picture now, I'll stick with my Polaroid, thanks, and wait to mail it out to the workroom for them to get it in the mail and look at it. Like, right? Like, it's just up-leveling the business. It's the next phase of technology, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, because you can close a project without it. Like, I could do window treatments, have communication with my window treatment workroom without instantaneous email. I did it through snail mail. But would I still, right, Kelly? What do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, so I've done it both ways, right? I've done this for a long time. So I did it old school. I was working in this world with fax machines. I understand that. That's how you placed your orders. You couldn't just send them in. It was a whole nother world. So I've done it both ways. And I think that when you have these renders, and especially the quality you get from Duque's renders, is that you have this trust that is instantaneous, because the clients can see, wow, they got my vision. They really understand me. They took what I said and they put it into what I need for my personal space. And it's not a generic one-off. It's totally custom to them. And it just really helps with that trust factor.
I love that. And you, Camia, with being color forward, so obviously you're attracting clients who are also looking for that. But sometimes the big punch in one spot, maybe we're all going to be like, ew, we really didn't think that. So now we get a chance to see, oh yeah, we really want an orange wall, or we really want this, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I have a client in Connecticut who she said, I want a sofa that is a pop of color, and then we're going to design the rest of the room around this sofa. And so I was like, I'm not saying no to the color, but now we need to process what this color palette is going to be. And so we settled on a coral sofa, and it is bright. And so as we designed the rest of the space, we pulled all these different fabrics, and we literally had like a room of 15 different fabrics and trims and all of the things. And so I said, you know what, and this was during that time when I was transitioning to using renderings all the time. And we did a rendering for her living room, and she literally gasped, and she was like, this looks like an exact picture of my space, and it's not even constructed yet. And she could not even believe that it was not a actual photo of her space. She thought it was. And I was like, nope, it's not. This is a rendering.
That's amazing. Fernando, you probably have a lot of designers that are having that same aha with their clients, right?
Yeah, and not only that, like I'm also a client from a designer. My wife is a designer. I mentioned her many times in the podcast. So she designed my office, and she said, like, you know what? You need a dark green blue ceiling. It's like, I need that? It's like, yeah, your office needs that. And it's like, oh my God, like, I'm not quite sure about that. All right, let's render it. So, okay, you're gonna use our company to kind of like show me how good the work is. Absolutely, let's do it. And when she did it, it's actually the office that I'm in right now. It's wonderful. She was right. We needed that in our office, but it didn't. I couldn't see it. Like, I just couldn't see it, because those type of things, those types of, for example, like Camia is saying, like very bright colors may scare some people away, but not until you see them and make everything come together is when you actually understand the genius of a designer, that they can actually see this prior. Like some clients, engineers, accountants, just can't see it. And there's when, renderings, me as a client of a rendering company, of a designer, was able to also experience that.
That's awesome. You wanted to add to that, Camia?
Yes, as you were talking, Fernando, I was thinking, like, as a designer, as a creative, everything just starts to just like come together in my mind in that moment. Like, once you have the discovery call with the client and they start telling you their vision and you understand the scope, I'm like, the colors, the schemes, the ideas, they're just flooding. And so then once you put it all together, I'm like, okay, I already see it. It's in my head. It's done. And the client's like, wait, what? What
Yeah,
are we
right.
doing
I
with
just
all
given you
this
my name and
fabric?
my address at this
Yeah, they're
point.
like, what are we doing with this tile? So you said this is the trim piece that's going to go here, but over here we're doing this. And I'm like, yes, trust me, it's going to look good. But now I can say, trust me, next week we will have a rendering for you to see all of this come together, as opposed to waiting, 6 months later for the big reveal, which again have done before in the past. And it's not fun to get those texts. Are you sure? Oh my gosh, I was up last night. I had this nightmare that the kitchen looked like, and I'm like, wait, what? No, no, no. It's going to look good. It's going to look good. So now instead of like encouraging and like prodding and, confirming those things, now it's like, okay, look at this amazing rendering. That's exactly what you're going to get. This is not an inspiration. It's not inspired by. This is the thing. And so that's what's really cool too about like working with Duque renders. You're getting
That's awesome.
exactly what you want.
And you wanted to add to that too, Kelly?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to, as you were saying, that we have all this in our mind and we could visualize it immediately. It's so true of what we do every single day. And the clients don't have that capability. So once they see the rendering, they're like, oh, okay, now I understand. That's what you were talking about with the two sofas facing each other and the color here and the thing there. It really, really helps them understand our creative process and that we have a vision and then they get to experience it.
Yeah, I have never contracted for like big time design projects like what you guys do. I mean, I've been surrounded my entire business career, right? And I've been part of many of those projects as a window treatment expert. But I can't tell you the number of times that I have been in those planning meetings with some really top level New York City designers. And my brain is like, this sounds like it's crazy. Like, and then you walk in and you're just like, whoa, this is why they get the big bucks. Like, oh, this all makes sense, And so it is, it's a lot of comfort. Question for you. 2 questions. Number 1 is, have either of you ever rendered something and either the client went, okay, I totally get what you're saying now, but like not, I'm just going to use that as an example, ixnay on the coral sofa. Like she happened to love that render and you're good. But did you ever have a situation where you're just like, or that you were like, yikes, not what I thought it was going to be, where the rendering helped you do an edit and a revision before thousands and tens of thousands of dollars were done? Or you guys they're both looking at me like, no, pretty much when we do it, we nail it the first time. We're amazing.
That's how good we are.
Well, they're both laughing like, yeah, kind of, that's us.
I'm like, yeah, honestly, I mean, for me, speaking for Camia Brown Interiors, that, knock on wood, thank God, we have not had, I haven't had that issue. More so for me, it's been, okay, I have these 3 strong ideas that I want to show the client, but before I communicate this like specific custom detail, maybe I want to see this rendered so that I can then define what those nuanced details are. So that would be something that I would want to like refine something when we're doing like a large custom project. But yeah, I haven't had an issue where there's something that I want to do and then the client sees it and they're like, oh gosh, no. It's okay. Yeah, no, we haven't had that.
This is Kelly. I think that they get blown away when they see the image, so they don't have the opportunity to say, oh, I don't think I like that coral sofa. I think they're just so blown away. They think, God, that looks fantastic.
Okay. All right. And you are sometimes you are self-editing yourself, like where you're just saying this or that, let me see the 2 before you go to them and you're like, I got this. Like that's what I just heard in that little process, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And you wanted to add something, Fernando?
Yeah, we do have cases that some designers like they go with their designs and suddenly they see the render and say like, oh, okay, thank God I didn't send this to my client, because
So it does happen.
it does happen. It just, I mean, with these wonderful, talented designers,
Rock stars. Yeah.
we only bring rock stars here to the show. So, but we've had clients, and nothing bad about that. I think that's also part of the design process, that they use the renderings in kind of like to confirm that things are going the way they actually are in their head, right? Like some designers, we've done, it doesn't happen that often, to be honest, because of this very professional people, but sometimes like, oh, maybe that backsplash doesn't go with that hood, or something like that, and then they change it before they go to the client because it doesn't make 100% sense in their head. Does that make sense?
It does. And you know what's funny is, again, I'm relating to 4 decades of selling window treatments, right? And I can hear I'm making fun of you guys, like, oh, you never had that problem, but like, you know what? It's probably in 40 years 3 to 4 times that we installed a window treatment and the client didn't like it, and Billy would come back and I'd be like, what's the problem? He's like, they just don't like it. And I'm like, well, is it measured right? Did I order it right? Is it the right fabric? Is everything technically executed right? And he's like, yeah. And then I'll walk in, I'll be like, yeah, you know what? I don't like it either. You know what I mean? But like, that's 3 times in 40 years, right? And I think I can see why it hasn't happened to you guys. That's where I now like step out of the box of window treatment. I'm like, but that's one thing that I have to go out on a limb and say is going to look good. Like, you guys have like 9,000 things. Like, how can you get them all right every time? That's insanity. But that's what makes you you. And that's why we need all of you on the planet, right? So go ahead, Camia, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, when Fernando was talking about, those different ideas that some designers are flushing through with those renderings, for me, there have been those iterations with the client. So with one option, we were trying to explain to them why a stainless steel hood did not look good and we needed to go with the custom hood. And his wife was on board and he was like, no, I really want the stainless steel, because he grew up with that in his mind. He needed this really huge custom, stainless steel hood. And we were like, no, we want it to blend in with the cabinetry. And so that was what Duque Renders did for one of our kitchen designs. We showed him the stainless steel hood, and then the second option we showed the custom millwork, and then he says, okay, I see what you guys meant.
I'll take
I
one
see why.
custom millwork,
Let's
please.
do the custom millwork. It looks better. I agree. I concede. So it does help. It really does help to sell that. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I love it. And then now talk to me a little bit about the process of working with Duque. So, I mean, he's right in the room, so we can't but, you got to tell me the truth here. So, getting set up an account, is it easy? Is it seamless? Is it difficult to get your ideas across so that they can do it? Who wants to start? Kelly, you want to start?
I could start.
Go ahead.
I find it incredibly easy. I had my first call with Raul, not Fernando, unfortunately, but I did have it with Raul, who is amazing. And by the time we were done with the call, I bought a package, and I've been using all the spaces from that project, from that package rather. And it's so seamless. You sign up with them. They create a file for you, although now they're moving to Slack, I understand. They're coming up with a refined, what they say is going to be a better process. We're all going to communicate through Slack, and you get your project set up. They have a gather tab where you gather together the things that you're gathering anyway when you're getting your project together, and you submit everything you can to Duque. So you give them photos, measurements, floor plans, whatever documentation, the more the better, so that they have a great visual of what the project is and what you're looking for. And then you get clay renders, which is all the pieces and all the things in a clay format without finishes. And you approve the placement of all of that. And then the next is the preview of the final images, and then your final images. And it's just boom, boom, boom. And if you give them, I need this in 7 days, they will work with you for that. If you need it in 2 weeks, they work with you for that. And it's so seamless, and the communication has been amazing. And I've already signed up for more spaces for next year because I just enjoy working with them.
I have found them to be very process driven. in all of my interactions with them that have nothing to do with rendering, by the way. But it's very process driven. And so that doesn't surprise me that something as important as delivering quality renderings to you guys is also really process driven. And how about you, Camia? How has your experience been? Do you guys have individual account managers that you work with for every project? How does that work, Camia?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My experience has been just terrible. No, I'm kidding. No, it's been amazing.
Wait, what's that audio edit there? 2808.
No. It's been amazing. So when I had my intro call, it was with Fernando, and we were, it's like 30 minutes, but we probably talked for like an hour and some change, and I met the babies and his wife and everything. Like, it was so amazing. But I will say that was what was very attractive to me with working with him, is that everything was a very clear process. And as a technical person, being able to say, oh, these are the steps, because it was, my first time working with a professional rendering company at the time when I started working with them. And so I said, oh, this is how they do it. And then I saw how your guys from like Fiverr and other places, and I was like, this is not the same process. Like, no, that was more of like okay, send me what you're wanting, I'll figure it out, versus I need your floor plans. This is where you upload your elevations. I want links to every single thing that you're going to have in your space. So for all the fabrics, I create the links for that and everything. And so that's why it's so realistic, because it is all exact. It's not guessed or assumed. It's exact to what you're designing. So if you're saying you want something to look a certain way, that's exactly what you're going to get, because that process is very clear.
That's awesome. Tell us more about it, Fernando, like for the fill in other details that we need to understand on how to do this.
Yeah, no, and I think you both like describe the process perfectly. Like you've been through the process so many times that it's now part of your process, right? Like one of the things that we hear a lot is that from other rendering companies is that, the process is not clear. And designers, I know I live with one, is a process. If it's not within the process, it's like it starts to become blurry, right? So we took that feedback and we said, like, how can we make this as structured as possible so designers are feeling good about this, feeling comfortable about this, feeling that they know what to expect at a certain time and a certain point throughout their own process. And we take this very seriously, because if we for some reason like delay something, everything delays, right? Like it, when the designers talk to their clients and promise something at a certain time, that includes us. So we know that we are an important part of the designer's process. So it is by definition, by design this way, because we know that's what makes designers feel secure, safe, and in control of what's going to come in the future. Now we are actually including delivery schedules, like from the very beginning. Like if everything goes as planned, you'll get your renderings, your clays, your previews at a certain time. And the worst thing that could happen is that we deliver them early, which nobody seems to have a problem with that. So we try to improve. And again, it's always a work in progress. Now we're moving to Slack, which I think is going to be a very, very good addition to our communication process with our clients. So yeah, like we cater to you. It's for you. It's made with feedback from designers, from my wife, and after 500 plus clients, I think we got it a little bit like on spot now.
Yeah. Well, I love that you are always iterating, right? Like, so if there's a new way to improve the process from what you've learned from working with people like Camia and Kelly and Mina and others, then you're consistently taking that feedback and making those iterations. It was interesting because you mentioned that you're now willing to put out, like, if if the project starts on this date and these things happen, this is when you can get your deliverables. But it bears saying, like, the designer has to, if there's questions or, like, you have to come to the table as that partner, because we all know that we have the same on the other way. Like, the designer is working with the client. They're like, okay, approve this. Okay, approve this. And the next thing you know, it's a month later and the client's like, when am I getting this? Like, right, that thing that you never approved and you never paid for. Right, you're not getting it. It's not coming. You didn't take the step. So we have to always remember it takes two to make the partnership successful, right? But it's nice to know that designer after designer that I've spoken to about Duque renders, and that's not just on air, but off air too, in the little, circles at LuAnn Live and High Point Market and all the thing. Everyone is always expressing the testament to the process that you have, the commitment to quality that you have, and the level of communication that you have. You see, and you hear it when Fernando is describing it. He understands we're a part of your process. We're a part of your project. And if you're on the line, you're the one facing the consumer. We know we're a cog in that in order to make you do so you just show up and have your job right. But I'm telling you, it's borne out in all the private conversations. That's what I've learned. So it's not just on the air conversations. And I know both of these ladies personally. They're not volunteering for the show if they're not having an exceptional experience. They're just not. It's just not how they roll. So are there any closing things that either Kelly or Camia you'd like to share, or open it back up again? But like, if there's anything that I've left off the table that you're like, heck no, I have to say this. And also I'll leave it for you, Fernando, to close out finally after these ladies. Go ahead, Camia.
So one thing I will say, which Fernando knows, I love to send everybody I know his way who needs rendering services. So I'm like, you've got to go to Duque Renders. But the reason why I do that, one, is because of the process, but two, I love how photorealistic the renderings turn out. The wow factor is always wowing. For every single client, I will have a meeting where we just look at the renderings. And I start the meeting with I'm like, let's just jump right into it. And literally the jaw-dropping reaction to seeing the renderings every single time, it just is like, it's the best thing. And so I don't know. I love how everything is just like so photorealistic. It's exactly to measurement. The details are there. And if there's a question that needs to be asked, or if they're like, hey, like, what about this thing here? Or is this what you wanted here? The questions are asked. There's no assumptions made. And so I really love that about the process, and just like how amazing the renderings look.
Before you share your final thoughts, Kelly, I just have to talk about no assumptions, right? Like, what is the worst thing ever in any design project ever when any one of the subs that we work with assume something?
Yes.
Like, legit, it is the worst thing ever. Like, I could literally just like lose my brains thinking about the number of times an installer, a painter, a carpenter, just assume, well, I didn't think it would be a big deal if we just like put a soffit over there. Oh, really? Because that's where the track for my window treatment's going. But you're right. It's not a big deal. I don't know why you should have made that assumption, right? So like, I love that you're specifically calling out that communication is elevated, and there's no just get it done on deadline without the need for clarification and making sure that they understand what you want, right?
Definitely. Absolutely.
Nice. Kelly, how about you? What did I leave out that you need to get off your soul about Duque renders?
So I have two thoughts for my last thoughts. I agree completely on the photorealistic. It's absolutely amazing. And it reminded me that I do renderings for every project. If there's trust from the very beginning, I don't always show them right in the beginning before they approve my designs. I save them. The majority of my clients, it's their third, fourth, fifth house. So they're not in town when I'm doing the work. So when they're getting to that stress level of, oh my God, I'm never getting back in my house, I send them the renderings. So I say, here's a little surprise. I just want you to see. I know we're getting to that saturation point of I don't want to write another check. I just want it done. Here's what's happening in your project, and here's what it's going to look like. And it goes along with my weekly design update when I feel the moment's right. And they are absolutely blown away, and it brings that excitement back because
isn't
they're
that
like, wow,
interesting?
that's our house and it's going to look like that. So it's that photorealism is a huge component of it.
And they're like, the husband's looking at the wife going, can we pull back that message, that nasty message we messed her when everything getting done, right?
Yeah.
That's an interesting, Kamai, that's interesting, isn't it? That she saves it for that little candy bit when everything's getting a little sour. That's so funny. I mean, I could see that strategy client per client, right? Like how you might utilize that. It's funny though. I did visualize the moment that you were talking about, Kamaya, though, when you're like, okay, here's our meeting. And it's like, bah! Like, that's also a fun moment. So it's interesting. I love that you're using it in different ways. And that is what we all have to do, right? There's tenets and principles and practices for good business, but we always put our little tweak on what is our USP, right? The way that we show up and do something and what works in our processes to get the wow factor. That's awesome. I love that. That's so funny that you both do it differently, but I get goosebumps visualizing each presentation of it. So, and how about you, Fernando? What else do you want to tell us about Duque or these lovely ladies or about your process?
Well, first, we'll be working together with Camia, what is it, like over couple of years now, so it's been wonderful working with you, and it's always a pleasure. Of course, with Kelly, we met not a few months ago, and we actually met personally, and that's another thing that's not only the quality of the work. I figure that it's the entire package, right? Like we push our team to produce the absolute best quality, but also I think we push a team to also provide the best service, right? Because at the end of the day, if you go to a restaurant and the food is amazing, but the service is crap, you most likely not going back to it, right? So it's an entire package. Yeah, of course, we need to lead with quality because otherwise, like, that's the starting point. But also we make a huge effort into getting to know our clients, like getting to know them personally. Like now we're going to all these events, my calendar is packed, so most likely I will see most of the people listening to this show throughout the year, because we take the time to go there, to meet with them. And it's nothing like meeting in person that builds that relationship to the next level, right? It's not only a transaction, it's a relationship. So we have over 500 clients now, I say it super proudly. But we still have a lot more to know and to meet and to work with, and hopefully change some of these designs processes that we work so hard into providing the best value and also the best customer service. So for whoever wants to become part of this Duque family, you can follow us on Instagram. It's duque.renders. And if you want to book a call with one of our team members, you can go easy. It's duquerenders.com/LuAnn, duquerenders.com/LuAnn. You will find a calendar there, and we'll be happy to hear you out. It is a custom process. It is not like a menu, and we have just items in the menu. We want to understand, where are you coming from? What do you need? If your house is for social media, or if it's for a client, or if it's just for a portfolio, we need to know these things, because knowing this entirely will make the process much better, much faster, much smoother. And of course, we're going to give you what you actually need. Is that? Right. Yeah, I can close with that.
That's awesome. I love that. And, I love that you talked about the relationship part, right? Because we always talk about that there are companies that give good service. They're known for their quality customer service and their client experience. Many of you designers, ascribe to that and so forth. But we also talk about it gets better when you know the person too. Like I know that when I've done the episodes back in the day on why should you go to High Point? Well, maybe you should be on a first name recognizable basis with the furniture rep that you've been spending, $200,000 a year for, because when you call and you have a problem, if that person knows you, it's just human nature to dig deeper for somebody that you consider a friend. You know what I mean? And so, and I've watched you in real life, Fernando, go out and do that. You are friends with your clients, and I know that they can rely on you and they can trust you and they can count on you. And that's what's really super important. So I have to say thank you tons for you guys showing up today and doing this. It was fun to see all of you here virtually again. And I love that we know each other in real life too. So thank you for joining me today on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
There it is. There is no better testimonial than when it comes straight from one of your peers, right? And if you listen regularly, you know we've had other designers on the show crediting Duque renders and their services before, and it's always been a top-notch review. Because there's no point in utilizing a service like renderings if it doesn't exponentially benefit you and your business. And according to both Camia and Kelly, it does this for them and beyond. Since first starting with Duque renders, both Camia and Kelly continue to have every one of their projects rendered. That right there tells you something about the ROI that they are getting from it. So let's talk about how. If you've listened to the episode before with Nicole and Elle, which we will link in the show notes, you will notice some similarities. I think the obvious one is the clarity of the design project and being able to give your client a very accurate visual. There is always a wow factor after everything is said and done, like the big reveal, right? Everybody's happy, happy, happy. But imagine getting that reaction from your client even before the project starts. Camia loves that for sure. And she also loves how it gives everyone peace of mind and how it puts them all on the same page. Many of you have probably experienced a client who disagrees with your vision or just can't see your vision, even though you know hands down it's going to be fantastic. You're the one with the talent, right? Renderings have helped Camia with her color-forward approach, especially by giving clients a visual idea of what they have maybe possibly immediately rejected, right? But then she said after they see it rendered, they're kind of like, oh yeah, that's why we hired you. You're amazing, right? So there's no arguments, no back and forth, and everyone is on the same page. And that saves tons of time. Both Kelly and Camia agree that using Duque renders expedites the process. Decisions are made more quickly and headaches can be eliminated. And I think you would agree it's worth looking into for these reasons alone. It also alleviates stress. Kelly had a tactic where she uses the renders as a tool when, right? Clients start to doubt the process and question when the project will finally be done, right? This is when she pulls out her render and wows the client, replacing that stress and doubt with excitement. Interesting concept, an interesting way to use the rendering. I thought that was outstanding, right? And how about how the render saved the day when she had the issue with the contractor and the client? And you know, when you put your work into creating a beautiful space and not being able to photograph it for one reason or another, it's a stomach punch. But having Duque's render the project saved the day for Kelly. I love that. Now, no matter how you utilize the renderings by Duque renders, both Camia and Kelly attested to what I always knew about their process-driven approach. It's easy, accurate, personalized, professional, and timely. They listen to everything you need and all of the pieces and parts of your ideas. And according to these two #smart ladies, the results are exact. Fernando takes the feedback from designers like you who work with Duque to make the process as structured as he can. He does this so that you know what to expect through the entire process. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sounds like the way we also always talk about how you need to structure your client journey so that they can expect and understand what to expect so they can have an exceptional experience, right? Look, in any business, there is great customer service and successful business transactions, and then there is exceptional service while creating relationships. This is how Duque Renders does it, and I hope that you do the same for your clients. So, to connect with them, go to duquerenders.com/LuAnn, and you can book a call with one of their team members to learn how they can help you on your next project. All right? Then also follow them on their Instagram page at duque.renders. All right? Get in on all the things and start to see what's going on over there. I highly encourage you to do that. Now, Thank you, Camia, and thank you, Kelly and Fernando. I had such a good time with you guys in person and virtually and all the things. Love, love, love that this has brought us together. And a little teaser. You may have heard that my Power Talk Friday tour is back on in 2024, and you can expect to meet Fernando and some of the Duque team at more than a couple. I'm not going to say which ones because we're working it out right now, but at more than a few of our Power Talk Friday dates, which we are happening in April in Dallas, in New Jersey in June, in Las Vegas in August, and High Point in October. To learn more and to get on the list for when the cart opens so that you can join, go to powertalkfriday.com. All right. Thank you tons for showing up today and listening to the podcast. I appreciate so much that you do. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.